to record.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah, it says it's recording.
This is weird.
Okay, we're okay.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
I'll move the link to the 14th so he knows which one is the right one.
Okay. Oh yeah, I think it's good. Wait, not everyone's here.
Yeah, Bogey's not here yet.
Yeah.
It was Bogey the one putting the link into the
I think it's Camille.
calendar?
Is Camille doing that?
Yeah, I moved it.
Okay.
Oh.
I can't like see like the screen anyway. Does it record my screen?
Wait, do you guys just see like join audio, share screen, and all that?
Yeah, join audio, share screen, invite others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that too, but I didn't see that before, so I don't know.
I did not see that.
You don't see. Wait, what do you see?
Wait, let me see. Click
Like
join.
my- Oh wait, now yeah. If you click on the screen, yeah, I see that now.
Click on what?
With my screen, that part it, like disappeared on my phone. You click on it, I could see it now.
So who's recording this now?
I am, but
Mine.
I don't even know where it's gonna like go, like saved. So confusing.
Oh gosh. I like this. It's weird.
Yeah, it's so.
Let's try. Can we switch it to Google Meet next time?
We can't because then he can't join.
Oh.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was something like Wake County's policy. I don't know.
Oh.
'Cause he can host it or something, but not join. I don't know.
That's so weird.
I know.
I did Google Meet for like my APUSH, and it was so much easier.
I haven't used any of this yet, so.
I just don't know how to get off.
Is she in the weight room or?
No, like I don't see her like asking
Oh,
or anything.
that's
Wait,
weird.
text her?
Yeah. Yeah, I could text her.
Well, she said I'm doing. Okay.
Oh, she's joining. So for the final main thing for the project, we have to make a podcast.
Yeah. I do not want to do that.
I don't
Isn't
even.
this basically a podcast though?
Like, what is it about?
I don't know.
Yeah. Very vague on
Yeah, like
the
I
group.
don't know.
Yeah. It was just about like the central idea, right? That was all it said.
Yeah, I don't even know.
You guys read the book.
What?
75 pages.
What was 75 pages? Oh, here she is.
I read all those pages last night.
Really?
I didn't, like, I've been doing it since like 12 o'clock. I just finished it like half an hour ago.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I'm in.
All right.
Okay.
Alright.
All right. Cool.
I hate when he just says epistemology every single page.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys ready to start?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to just go ahead and talk about our 2 quotes?
Yeah, we can do
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I'll just read one of my quotes.
Mhm.
So, it said, "You may get a sense of what this means by asking yourself another series of questions. What steps do you plan to take to reduce the conflict in the Middle East?" And then they asked a lot of other questions about current issues. And then he later says, "I shall take the liberty of answering for you. You plan to do nothing about them. You may, of course, cast a ballot for someone who claims to have some plans as well as the power to act." And then says, "Voting, we might even say, is the next to last refuge of the politically impotent." And so the whole thing he was talking about how there are so many events covered in the media
Yeah.
that nothing changes a lot of the time because people don't really have the power and they're in no position to make change. And they can elect representatives that kind of represent some of their beliefs, but none of them will ever have like the exact same ones. And it's not always guaranteed that they will actually do something. So a lot of these issues are never resolved because it's just displayed in the media, but no action ever gets taken.
Yeah, and when you're talking about how sometimes, like nowadays, they talk about things that aren't relevant to people, I guess, in the area. Like when they talk about the Middle East, like, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Kind of trying
They
to
were-
say that as well.
Yeah.
but
Like, wait. Can I bring like when he talks about the Telegram in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how you force discussion between like two states that have nothing in common or anything to discuss about, and like, wait, I had something to say, but go on with what you're saying. I'm just
Yeah, I know what you're saying because, like, in the book, he was talking about how, like, the Telegraph and they were forcing communication between two different, like, totally different groups. And I mean, like, that's still like relevant today because a lot of times they're like, it's just all this information, and it's like, okay, what are we even doing with this information? It's kind of useless.
yeah, exactly. Like there could be something really crucial going on in another state that has nothing to do with your life, but
Yeah.
they'll put it on the media all over and make a big deal about it when it doesn't really have to do anything with the general population.
and they
Yeah.
like make it your problem.
Yeah, and I think especially in America, like, do you guys even know who the mayor of Apex is? I don't think anybody does.
Like, you don't even
No,
like, the news in like your own city, but you know
true.
something that's happening in like New York or something. That's so bad.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, like the only thing people care about is the president, but it's not like the president really affects you that much.
Right.
A lot of things are locally, and that's where the most change happens.
Yeah, true.
Okay, do you guys have any idea for questions that we can put in here?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I had a question like about something in the book. I don't know if this is a question we can put on there, but he was talking about like we have to understand that technology is like the difference between technology being a medium versus like wait a minute.
Yeah, it was like a piece of
Yeah, I was
like
so
metal or something
confused by
versus the
that.
media.
Yeah, I was confused by that. I'm trying to like we have to understand the difference. I don't know. I literally just had it.
It's on like in the 90s. I know it was towards the end. They
It
were
was towards
talking
the
about.
end of what we were reading.
wait, what was the idea for the question?
It was like he was talking about tech or not technology, television.
Do you
Oh
know
yeah,
if
he said on page 85. He was like, what is television? We must understand as a first point that we are not talking about television as a technology, but television as a medium. I didn't really get that. Like, I don't know what he was trying to like get at there.
I think he's trying to say that the problem isn't that we have TVs, it's what like the TV has allowed to happen.
Mhm.
Like this culture that it's created in America.
Yeah, I think that goes along with how, like he was saying, even in the media and television, how entertainment is the main focus. And he wasn't really saying that it's a bad thing. He was just saying how people, when they rely on television just for entertainment, that's where it's bad, because you kind of want to have a balance between entertainment and then important events that go on. So it's kind of like you have to, I don't know where I can make that, but
I think
Yeah, I see what you're
he even
saying.
said that.
so do you want the question to be something like just explaining the importance of like comparing the television to the medium or whatever?
Like, what would the question be?
Like what does
Like, what exactly does he mean?
yeah, by
Yeah.
saying that.
And I think he even said that it's not entertainment that's necessarily bad, it's just that they try to make everything about entertainment.
Yeah.
But then, like, at one point, he said something. He was like, a news show, to put it plainly, is a format for entertainment, not for education reflection. But I was like, I disagreed with that, because I was like, some news shows are actually like informational. Not everything is for. Well, sometimes
Yeah.
they don't just make it for.
But there's like a lot of like bias in the media to like entertain like certain sides, whatever, so they can just get their money.
That's
I don't
true.
know.
I mean, like, yeah, I guess, because like in the White House, like when they're reporting on that stuff, like it can be like seen as like comedy rather than like these hard facts. I see.
Yeah. And if you want, you can like, we could type the other things later and we could just put the questions up there. Because if we have a recording of it, we can listen back to it and type.
Yeah. I also think it was, I don't remember, I think towards the end he started talking about the way people look, but I don't remember if that was past page 100, like we were supposed to read.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh yeah, I had a quote about that one, I think.
He was mad that people, judge more on the way someone looks than what they're saying, but at the same time,
I remember that.
like, you can't
wasn't that like earlier in the book too?
Yeah, it was earlier, and then I think he goes back to it. Well, because the pages that we read, it was kind of like a history of media, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it like common for every human just to think of a picture of someone when they're thinking of someone?
That's what
he actually talked exactly about that. He said that people in the past, when you said a name, you would think of like their ideas, but now we think of how they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that quote. Oh yeah, it was on page 60. That was one of the ones that I thought was really good. It said, public figures were known largely by their written words, for example, not by their looks or even their oratory. It is quite likely that most of the first 15 presidents of the United States would not have been recognized had they passed the average citizen on the street. And so I thought that was really interesting to think about, because today it is human nature just to look at someone and how they present themselves and to kind of like judge their beliefs just based on that. But back then they only focused on their words and they had no way to know what they look like. So they would just judge the person by what they wrote and Yeah, it was. They
Yeah,
had no
I don't
respect,
think,
like appearance of someone.
yeah, I don't think that could ever happen today. Like, I think we're too focused on image to ever just like base someone on what they're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes I think it's a good thing. Like if someone doesn't present themselves in a good way, and you see that on the media, I think that's sometimes important to like put that into a factor about like whether or not someone's qualified.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, also you could argue that Neil Postman obviously wasn't alive in the 1800s. So like, how does he actually know what it was like? Because he's claiming that people are stupid now and they were smart back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's making it kind of seem like we're these people who are just all like always watching TV, like always on their phones, always looking at technology. When honestly, that's not really the case. Like, I get technology is a big factor, but I don't think it's everything.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
get like his dislike of TV as an entertainment medium. Like entertaining yourself is like a necessity for humans, basically.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, what I thought he was also saying about that was like, I don't remember what page it was on, but he was saying how sometimes it's not like a bad thing to have entertainment. It's just whenever everything surrounding television is entertainment,
Yeah.
like the way that they present the news, or like he was
True.
talking about how the news, the people that the newscaster or whatever, he was saying, join us tomorrow after there was like a very like sad event, and it was
Yeah.
designed
Oh, I read that.
not
Yeah,
for
that
people
was
to cry, but like to just like it was like a light topic, so you shouldn't be
but you
worried
can
about
like
it. But
what are you saying?
yeah,
Oh, but you can like see what you were talking about and what he was talking about in like presidential debates. Like Trump, most of the time he just says stuff to entertain his viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Says
Mhm.
they don't judge their ideas, they judge their, what did he say?
Yeah, I remember
The
that
way they
part.
look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is kind of ironic because he doesn't look that good, but
Yeah.
Mm.
Wait, how
okay,
long
does
does
someone
it
else
have to be? Like,
talk about their quote?
I have another thing that goes along with like him thinking we're more like we need more plain language. He was talking about, I don't remember what page it was on, but he talked about how back then, like in the Lincoln Douglas debate, both politicians were using all kinds of rhetoric, like irony and then metaphors and stuff. And he was saying how the audiences really had to listen and interpret what they were saying, while nowadays people like in the White House today, they would need to use more plain language or visuals to kind of have more people engaged. And like back then during those debates, like the Lincoln Douglas debate, it was like 3 hours long for one person to talk, and the people would sit there the whole time. But nowadays, people would never have that attention span just to listen to like a debate.
yeah. Yeah, I was reading that and he was talking about how like the audience was able to process all of that like through the ear like for that long, and like how that could never happen now
Yeah.
because we depend so much on visuals, and they didn't have like visuals, or he says they don't have visuals and things like that.
Yeah.
One of my quotes was from page 61. I'm not going to read it just because I copy a lot of it down, but it was basically where he was talking about how people in the past were so busy that reading was kind of like special because you would only do it once a day or once a week. And he was talking about how it's weird, which when you think about it, it really is, that people have like comprehension tests for reading when, like, if what
Yeah.
else are you doing? Like, what's the point of reading if you don't know what you're reading?
Right. That's
Yeah,
I never thought
that's
about
what.
But like there actually is people who just don't understand when you read something.
yeah.
What I was like wondering about when I was reading the quote is there a reason why, like old books are kind of hard to understand? Is it because they use, different slang, or they make references to things that we don't know about? Or is it because people just were higher level readers and writers than we are now?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I feel like for me at least it's more about like the slang, and or if they use a lot of rhetoric, it's harder for me to understand because like the way that people spoke back then, it was a lot different than now. So for me, I think it's harder by like the different slang that's added in those books.
Yeah, that's true.
For my quote, it was on page 39. I'm gonna try to sum it up. Where he talks about Charles Dickens, how when he visited America, he would be sworn by tons of people that loved his works, his fictitious works that appealed to their entertainment side or whatever. But then he talked about Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was like kind of a discussion on a serious topic back then. But that if she had been surrounded by people, it wouldn't have been for the purpose of escorting her home. And I think this just shows like how back then, even back then, people were focused on the entertainment side of life and writing. And that they didn't really want to hear non-entertainment value stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets off of like not off topic, but I don't know. He'll just be talking about something and then like give an example to go super into depth about that example.
Like the religious people, the deists or whatever,
Oh yeah,
talk about them at all. The days, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I don't know how you say it, deist or deist.
yeah.
Like, why did he talk about them?
Because I think it has to do with the fact that like print, like books, it was started because of religion so that they could like, I don't know, print the word of God or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he started talking about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like he spends like a good chunk of time talking about history, and then
I know.
but like
I think past page 100 is when he gets into like actual TVs and stuff.
Yeah.
And like entertainment.
Yeah.
My other quote was from page 51, and honestly, it's kind of confusing because sometimes it sounds like he's contradicting what he's saying, but maybe I just don't understand what he's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But on page 51, he was talking about how the reason people in the past were so good at understanding rhetoric and like holding these long speeches was because reading was, analyzing and doing this and doing that. And then what my question was regarding that is, what kind of books should we be reading now? Like, if we're not good with rhetoric, then what do we have to read to be good at it? Because, for example, I read almost every day, and I don't understand what he's saying, and he wrote this in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what specific type of book he was trying to, or what he would have suggested. I feel like for him, he just thinks like the fact that people read a lot more every day. Like if everyone, I think he's claiming like if everyone read every day and it was a regular thing that people would just like pick it up. But I don't think that's always the case.
Yeah. Mhm.
Wait, how long have we been in this call so far?
No, I don't see the time.
It's
It
probably
says
like
it's gonna
20
go
minutes.
for 40 minutes though.
Do
Like-
we have to wait for him to join, or does he just randomly choose?
I don't know. I think
I don't-
he said like throughout the 3 times. So he may not even
Uh.
be on today.
Maybe he tried to join when we were out of the meeting.
He probably did.
I think it's only been 20 minutes. So
Yeah, because the first half you're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
okay, we can talk about the artifact.
Okay,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Wait, do we still need the second question, or do we have that
We
down?
do. Do you want to think of a second question?
Let me look at my.
But for the question, is it television as a media or medium? What did it say?
It said medium.
Let's see.
Wait, why did he talk about like how people utilize their television sets?
Oh yeah, as like a light or like as
The library?
yeah.
What?
Yeah,
I
that's like
feel like that was part of his metaphor about the medium, how it's, I don't know, but I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I think that's just part of his comparison.
Okay, do you want our second question to be like something relating to the books that we were talking about, like the level of reading and writing?
yeah, that's fine.
That would be good.
Okay, if you want, you can start talking about the artifact and I'll just think of the question.
Alright, let me go to
Let
it.
me see.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. Cause like he was talking about, well, like I see like distractions. Like when you're actually trying to sit down and read a book, there's so many like distractions, especially if you're on your phone and like notifications start coming up and stuff. And there's definitely like distractions.
Yeah, I had to like move all the way to the different floors because I couldn't concentrate, and I had to put my phone away. Because,
Yeah, me too. When I'm like actually trying to read the book, I have to put my phone away. Cause like I feel like this book sometimes you have to like go back and like reread something if you don't understand it.
yeah.
In this book, you need like all your attention for it.
Yeah. Let me see.
Wait, what's it say on the bottom right?
And
Don't put your.
Oh, it says, I think something like, and your wife checks your history. I don't think
what? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think this like cartoon kind of relates to the chapter. I think it was called like the Peekaboo World. How like there are small little like the notifications, for example, it's just small things that capture people's attention and every. You're always distracted when you're on your phone because you'll have a different notification that pops up. But as opposed to back then when if you just read a newspaper or a book, you kind of focus on just what that's saying.
Yeah.
It's also kind of weird because it seems relatable to now, but at the same time, he wrote this before there was smartphones. So
Yeah.
it's like it's still applicable, but it's different. It's just
It's like more intense now.
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like it's a little different. Just because like people don't really, at least I don't watch actual TV. So like when you watch something on Netflix, you know, I think it's different than like watching things on the TV because you're focused on it. But at the same time, you still have all the notifications and all the ads and
I wonder what, like, if he wrote a book now, what he would say. It would literally just be like him rashing this whole like world for
yeah.
He would probably lose it if he was still alive.
literally.
Is he dead? Well, I mean, he probably is, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. Like now we have basically mini televisions that do even more than and yeah.
Let me see.
I also wonder why doesn't he hate on like the radio?
Yeah,
I think he did.
Yeah.
I mean, did the radio not like mess people up?
Because
Yeah,
didn't he wait, go on.
Like he was about the telegraph. He was talking about that, how like we were talking about before, how it connects like two different states that don't have similar issues. But yeah, it wasn't too much about the radio. Just a little bit.
I mean, he didn't even like the telegram. So does he want people to go back to like the dark ages?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, does he want us to like not progress? Like, I don't know.
Like he hates connection.
Bad. Like, what are you gonna do
Like,
about
he
it?
wants everyone to be like in their own little bubble, can't communicate with anybody. That doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what page it is where he was like you would hear about one news event, then it would disappear, then another one would appear?
That's
You
what
know
I
what I'm
was
talking about?
It's
I couldn't
probably
find.
near 100 somewhere, like 80 to 100 somewhere in there.
Yeah. I just thought about how like that is really, really similar to our world now. Like
Yeah, like just reading the title of the article, but not the article.
yeah. Like coronavirus, it's big now, but in like 2 months after it's over, people are probably gonna forget about it and move on to the next big thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, I can't find it anymore, but
I
I
definitely.
mean, but I guess it's good to move on from stuff though. Like don't stay hooked up on one thing. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't find it now.
me either.
I mean, like, there's too much going on in this world for us to be like, so like, for us not to really think about something for so long. Like, if we did, we would miss so much.
Yeah.
Like, I bet we're missing a whole lot of stuff now just because we're thinking of coronavirus. Like, there's probably I know there's other stuff going on in the world, but coronavirus is like the main thing.
It's just everywhere.
Everywhere.
I just feel like he's focusing too much on the negative, side effects of things. Because, like, think about it. If people have TVs, but they wanted to see, let's say, another country, how would they see it? Because he also complains about pictures. Like, he thinks that
Yeah, that's so
paper ruined newspapers. But, even if you don't, like, learn in depth about that country, at least you'll know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, why does he get so mad that like pictures set stuff in stone?
Oh yeah, when he was talking about photography.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
either it's
kind of.
fact or not fact. You know, so I don't.
We already talk about that because he made like some solid points, even if they weren't good. But
Yeah,
everybody said.
somewhere near the end, right?
I think it was in the middle,
Like a little past the middle or something.
yeah, cause I think it was in like the 70s. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like
I
how-
found out the news of the day, and
Yeah.
it was talking about context for the next photograph.
Yeah.
That was on 75.
Yeah, and it says, but there's such thing as a photograph taken out of context. Well, there's no such thing as a photograph taken out of context. I don't know. I feel like a photo could be taken out of,
It definitely could. If you have like cut out a part of the picture and you cropped it, that could like change the whole thing.
right.
But I guess
Yeah,
it was different back then. I don't know if
Yeah,
they could like
it's
crop it like that.
That's like
Yeah.
something that I have to think about too. Cause I'm like, nah, I don't really agree with that. But I guess back then it was like that could be.
Yeah.
I guess this is on page like 72, 73. He was saying that like a photograph is a fact. You can't like think about it. You can't argue. But I think that's not true. Like you can look at a photo, you can like think and develop, thoughts and not just, a fact.
yeah, you can dissect pictures. Like it's a thing you can do. So. But why was he talking about like a stranger handing you a photograph or something? The ilex of Aldonanges? I don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
It's on 75.
Yeah.
Do you guys know when we're uploading the journals? Are we doing it all at once or?
I mean, I feel like you could probably upload it now. I mean, if you have all your things, because we only need 6, right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is we should already have 2, so.
Yeah. So you only need
Because
like
from the first
4.
meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put it on a Google Doc and I'll put it on now and then add go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to.
I think you said like 30, 40 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How it'll save and like how you would upload it, I'm not sure. And we also have to think of a name of this meeting.
A what?
We have to think of a name for the meeting, like a different name.
What do we
Wait, what do you
mainly
mean
talk
a
about?
different name?
Is it like a creative title? That type of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does it say that?
On the sample website, and then we have to put like the best quote that kind of represents this whole thing.
Oh, well, I don't think you have to think of like a new name. He's weird like that. You're like, oh, you guys are boring. You know, it's fun.
I don't know. I thought on his template it said just think of a new name.
Okay, then we'll think of
What
that.
did we mainly talked. I think we mainly talked about.
We talk about like reading and like literacy, like the comprehension, but that was kind of towards the beginning.
We can just say discussing ourselves to death.
That's funny.
That's a good one.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think he'll like that.
Bex, he'll probably laugh.
Okay. And for the best quotes, we can just like, or if Maya could upload the recording to the website, we can kind of listen to it and decide
Yeah, and
later.
yeah, that works. When do we have to have this uploaded or updated by?
I think tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll
first-
put it on like
night.
after we get off. I'll put it on.
Mhm.
So we could just
Okay.
Does everyone want to choose their own best quote, or are we gonna?
Well, we can like listen back to it because I don't even remember what I said.
Yeah. We could like text each other in the group chat.
Yeah.
That works.
That was probably about 30 minutes. I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.